On a seemingly ordinary Thursday, June 12, 2025, in the bustling city of Ahmedabad, India, the familiar roar of an Air India Boeing 787 Dreamliner climbing into the sky was suddenly, horribly replaced by an eerie, perplexing quiet. This was not the chaotic spectacle of an aircraft tearing itself apart mid-flight, nor the terrifying plunge of a plummeting machine. What transpired was far more unsettling, a gradual, almost deliberate descent, a phantom landing that transformed into a terrifying inferno, leaving behind a trail of thick black smoke, unimaginable devastation, and a profound, agonizing mystery. This was Air India Flight 171, bound for London, carrying 242 souls. And in the aftermath, as wreckage smoldered and authorities confirmed a single miraculous survivor, the world was left grappling with two haunting questions. When and how did this dream flight turn into a nightmare? The timing was chillingly immediate, moments after takeoff, still striving for altitude. The manner of the crash was even more perplexing, a descent that, to untrained eyes, appeared almost controlled, hinting at a desperate final struggle. There is much we know, yet far more remains shrouded in a terrifying unknown. Let us begin to unravel the threads of this chilling enigma. The daily rhythm of air travel often masks the immense complexity of each flight, reducing it to a routine departure and arrival. There was nothing outwardly unusual about Air India Flight 171's planned journey from Ahmedabad International Airport in Gujarat, Western India, to London. This route, flown almost every single day, typically takes around 10 hours. On this particular Thursday, at approximately 1:38 p.m. local time, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, registration number withheld for now, taxied onto the main runway, aligning itself to face southwest. The familiar procedures unfolded. The engine spooled up, and the mighty aircraft began its powerful sprint down the asphalt. It was in these critical moments that the signal was lost. Online flight tracking data abruptly ceased when Flight 171 reached a mere 625 feet of altitude, just at the very edge of the runway's operational area. The entire flight, from the moment of liftoff to its tragic end, lasted for a duration estimated at less than 1 minute. A packed Air India plane, fully loaded and bound for England, crashing on takeoff, barely 1.5 kilometers from its point of departure. Photos shared by India's Central Police Force depicted the grim reality. A scene of catastrophic devastation, thick black smoke billowing from the wreckage, consuming what remained of the once proud aircraft. This was not a controlled descent to a designated landing strip. It was a ghost-like lowering of an uncontrollable behemoth, culminating in an inferno. The physical proximity of the crash site to the airport itself offers a chilling perspective. The distance from the wreckage to the edge of the runway was roughly 1.5 kilometers. A Boeing 787 Dreamliner, traveling at takeoff speeds, could conceivably cover that distance in as little as 30 seconds. This stark timeline immediately suggests that whatever catastrophic event doomed Flight 171, it was almost instantaneous. It was an unforeseen peril that presumably evaded detection during meticulous pre-flight checks, and, crucially, did not appear to interfere with the aircraft's initial, powerful takeoff roll. Yet, it manifested with terrifying swiftness, dooming the plane almost immediately after it lifted from the ground. The location itself adds another layer of complexity to the tragedy. The crash occurred not in an empty field, but within a residential area. Photographs posted online immediately after the crash, from various vantage points, show buildings and homes close to the wreckage. One particular video, widely shared, offers a slightly different perspective, its authenticity verifiable by distinct graffiti, an orange half circle and blue text, precisely matching a specific spot on Google Street View near the impact zone. This detail is not merely for validation. It underscores the terrifying proximity of the disaster to a populated area. While 242 people were on board Flight 171, the critical question remains: how many were on the ground, within any of these civilian buildings, when the plane came down? This unknown number of potential casualties adds another layer of grim uncertainty to an already devastating event. When a team of seasoned air accident investigators arrives at the scene of a plane crash, their minds immediately begin to cycle through a comprehensive checklist of potential explanations. Their mental whiteboard would feature categories like adverse weather conditions, bird strikes, catastrophic engine failure, critical fuel supply issues, human error, a grim possibility they always hope to avoid, and the presence of debris on the runway. Yet, even in these early, chaotic hours, certain theories, while not entirely ruled out, begin to recede into the realm of the less likely. For instance, there is no credible evidence, none whatsoever, to suggest that this was an act of external aggression, some form of attack on the aircraft. This region of India is not a war zone. There were no reports of rockets or missiles. The notion of a malicious external force targeting the aircraft, while a common speculation in the immediate aftermath of any disaster, quickly falls under intense scrutiny, and, in this case, appears unsupported by any initial findings. Furthermore, the weather conditions at the time of the crash presented nothing overtly unusual or hazardous. There were no reports of heavy rain, no significant snowfall, no sudden squalls, and crucially, no reduced visibility that would have hindered the pilot's ability to react or control the aircraft. The skies above Ahmedabad on June 12th were, by all accounts, clear enough for routine operations. This eliminates another significant common factor in aviation accidents, allowing investigators to narrow their focus. Even the aircraft itself, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, offers little initial cause for suspicion. A check of its manufacturer's details reveals it was built in 2013, making the plane approximately 11 years old. In the lifespan of a modern commercial airliner, this is not considered old by any stretch. It still represents state-of-the-art technology, with many years of service typically ahead. While maintenance records and specific technical issues will, of course, be meticulously scrutinized, the inherent design and recent manufacturing date of the Dreamliner suggest a level of reliability and robustness that would normally preclude such an immediate and catastrophic failure without an extraordinary preceding event. To anyone's knowledge, the 787 is considered a safe, cutting-edge aircraft, with no record of fatalities until this tragic incident. The most perplexing and haunting aspect of Air India Flight 171's demise remains the manner in which it crashed. That slow, almost gradual descent, which to an untrained eye might even resemble a controlled landing rather than a catastrophic plunge. It was a descent that preceded a terribly large explosion, with smoke and fire eventually filling the air. This highly unusual trajectory is what truly captures the attention of experts and fuels the most pressing questions. When closely examined, one can observe the nose of the aircraft actually pitching up, a clear indication that the pilots were desperately attempting to get the aircraft into a climb. They were trying to lift it, to gain altitude, to defy the unseen force pulling it back down. However, despite this evident effort, there was insufficient speed and/or engine power to sustain that crucial climb. When an aircraft lacks the necessary lift, the immutable laws of physics dictate its trajectory. It begins to fall towards the ground. This is where the speculation, however dangerous, becomes almost unavoidable, simply because the scenario defies the fundamental redundancies built into modern aircraft. Commercial airliners of this size, like the Boeing 787, are designed with multiple layers of safety. They possess two large engines, either of which is fundamentally capable of supporting the aircraft in safe flight, even at critical stages like takeoff. Aviation engineers design these aircraft with the explicit understanding that even if a single engine were to fail at the most critical stage of takeoff, a truly challenging scenario, the remaining engine would provide sufficient thrust for the aircraft to climb away safely, albeit with reduced performance. Therefore, for an aircraft to be descending in the manner observed with Flight 171, it would typically imply a catastrophic failure of both engines, or a completely different, equally profound explanation for its inability to generate the required lift. Another common aviation hazard, a bird strike, is also something that modern jet engines are robustly designed to withstand. Aircraft engines undergo rigorous certification tests specifically to ensure their design can endure such potential hazards during operation. While a severe bird strike can cause damage, it is highly unusual for it to lead to an immediate, complete dual-engine failure, or a loss of lift that would prevent a capable aircraft from continuing its climb, or at least attempting a controlled emergency landing. The The precise, almost eerie lack of a steep, uncontrolled plunge is what points away from a simple, sudden, catastrophic mechanical failure and towards a complex interplay of factors preventing the aircraft from achieving and sustaining lift. Could it have been the flaps? The flaps are crucial components of the wing, designed to extend and increase lift at lower speeds, especially during takeoff and landing. If these flaps were not in the correct position for takeoff, or if they had unexpectedly retracted for some unknown reason, the aircraft would indeed struggle significantly to generate enough lift to climb, even if the engines were producing power. The scenario of a plane trying to climb but lacking sufficient lift fits this description. In the background of this unfolding tragedy, the manufacturer of the Dreamliner, Boeing, faces immense scrutiny. The company's shares experienced an immediate dip following the crash of Air India Flight 171. While experts universally acknowledge the 787 Dreamliner as a state-of-the-art, safe aircraft with an impeccable safety record prior to this incident, Boeing as a corporation has been battling a relentless onslaught of negative headlines and public confidence issues in recent years. The most prominent example, still fresh in the public consciousness, involved an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737, where a door plug completely blew out in midair, exposing passengers to the open sky and forcing a terrifying emergency landing. This incident, while on a different aircraft model, significantly eroded public trust in Boeing's manufacturing and quality control processes. Other headlines have included production flaws, delays, and allegations of cutting corners in various programs. This latest crash, involving a flagship aircraft like the 787, will undoubtedly deal a severe blow to Boeing's image and investor confidence. The company will be desperately seeking answers, not only for the sake of the victims and their families, but also to salvage its reputation. Despite these recent troubles, it is crucial to remember that Boeing is a long-established aircraft manufacturer, competing with giants like Airbus, and their aircraft have historically maintained high reliability rates over decades. However, the cumulative effect of these incidents demands an unprecedented level of transparency and accountability from the company. This is where the story remains agonizingly incomplete. Investigations of plane crashes on this scale are incredibly complex, meticulous, and protracted. They can often extend for months, if not years, before conclusive findings are released. Until the painstaking work of analyzing every piece of evidence is complete, the true cause of Air India Flight 171's descent will remain shrouded in mystery. Investigators will meticulously analyze the flight data recorder, often referred to as the black box, which records hundreds of parameters of the aircraft's performance, control inputs, and system statuses. They will pore over the cockpit voice recorder, listening to every word exchanged between the pilots in the moments leading up to the crash, seeking clues about their actions, their concerns, and any alerts from the aircraft's systems. Eyewitness accounts, however harrowing, will be cross-referenced with technical data. The entire maintenance history of the specific aircraft will be scrutinized for any anomalies, overlooked issues, or recurring problems. Wreckage will be carefully examined, piece by agonizing piece, to identify any signs of structural failure, component malfunction, or foreign object damage. These planes are, by design, built with extraordinary redundancies and engineered to withstand a remarkable array of malfunctions. The very notion that a single, isolated failure could lead to such an immediate and confounding descent is what underscores the depth of this mystery. It points towards a catastrophic confluence of events, a failure in a critical system that multiple backup systems could not overcome, or a highly unusual set of circumstances that overwhelmed the pilot's ability to control the aircraft's climb. As the world awaits the meticulous findings of the investigation, the immediate reaction of India's Prime Minister, expressing profound heartbreak beyond words, resonates deeply. Beyond the technical specifics, the human tragedy is immense. The fate of 242 souls on board and the potential impact on those on the ground casts a long, somber shadow, until the black boxes yield their secrets and the painstaking work of investigators brings clarity. The ghost of Air India Flight 171 will continue to haunt the skies, a chilling enigma of an ascent that became a controlled, terrifying descent into oblivion.